Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tesla's third quarter 2024 Q&A webcast. My name is Travis Axelrod, Head of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by Elon Musk, Vaibhav Taneja, and a number of other executives. Before we jump into Q&A, Elon has some opening remarks.
I was saying, it's actually something that automotive industry are seeing year-over-year declines in order volumes in Q3. Tesla at the same time has achieved record deliveries. In fact, I think if you look at EV companies worldwide, to the best of my knowledge, no EV company is even profitable. To the best of my knowledge, there is no EV division of any company, of any existing auto company that is profitable. So it is notable that Tesla is profitable despite a very challenging automotive environment. This quarter actually is a record Q3 for us. We produced our 7th million vehicle actually just yesterday. So congratulations to the teams that made it happen at Tesla. That's a staggeringly immense amount of work to make 7 million cars. And we also have the energy storage business is growing like wildfire with strong demand for both Megapack and Powerwall. On October 10th, we laid out a vision for an autonomous and electric future that I think is very compelling. Regarding the vehicle business, we are still on track to deliver more affordable models starting in the first half of 2025. Taking a bit of risk here, I do want to give some rough estimate, which is I think it's 20 to 30% vehicle growth next year. And then Cybercab reaching volume production in 26, that should be substantial growth. We're aiming for at least 2 million units a year of Cybercab. That'll be in more than one factory, but I think it's at least 2 million units a year, maybe 4 million ultimately. Cell 4680 lines, the team is actually doing great work there. The 4680 is rapidly approaching the point where it is the most competitive cell. We'll continue to buy a lot of cells from our competitors. Our intent is not to make cells just internally. So I don't want to set off any alarm bells here. We're also increasing substantially our vehicle output and our stationary storage output. So we need a lot of cells. There are significant improvements in the miles between interventions. The new version 12.5, the release of full self-driving and Cybertruck, the combining the code into a single stack so that the city driving and the end-to-end highway driving are one stack. Which is a big improvement for the highway driving. So it's just all neural nets. And the release of actually Smart Summon. We try to have a sense of humor here at Tesla. Version 13 of FSD is going out soon. Expect to see roughly a 5 or 6-fold improvement in miles between interventions compared to 12.5. The current internal expectation for the Tesla FSD having longer miles between interventions than human is the second quarter of next year.
We made a 100x improvement with 12.5 from starting of this year, and then with V13 release, we expect to be 1000x from January of this year.
The vast majority of humanity has no idea that Teslas can drive themselves. Every time we have a significant improvement in the software, we'll roll out another sort of 30-day trial. So to encourage people to try it again. And we are seeing a significant improvement in adoption. The take rate for FSD has improved substantially, especially after the 1010 event. Tesla employees in the Bay Area, we already are offering a ride-hailing capability. So you can actually, with the development app, you can request a ride, and it'll take you anywhere in the Bay Area. We do have a safety driver for now, but
we showed some screenshots of this in the Q1 shareholder deck, and this is real. We've been testing it for the better part of the year, and the building blocks that we needed in order to build this functionality and deliver it to production, we've been thinking about and working on for years. It's not like we're just starting to think about this stuff right now while we're building out, the early stages of our ride-hailing network. We've been thinking about this for quite a long time, and we're excited to get the functionality out there.
We do expect to roll out ride-hailing in California and Texas next year to the public. We'll definitely have it available in Texas. And and probably have it available in California, subject to regulatory approval. And maybe some other states actually next year as well, but at least California and Texas. We published our Q3 vehicle safety report, which shows one crash for every 7 million miles of autopilot. That compares to the U.S. average of one crash roughly every 700,000 miles. So it's currently showing a 10x safety improvement relative to the U.S. average. And we continue to expand our AI training capacity to accommodate the needs of both FSD and Optimus. We're currently not training compute constrained. With Optimus, we showed a massive improvement in Optimus's dexterity and movement on October 10th, and our next gen hand and forearm, which has 22 degrees of freedom, which is double the prior hand and forearm. It's extremely human-like. I feel confident saying that we have the most advanced humanoid robot by a long shot. We're moreover the only company that really has all of the ingredients necessary to scale humanoid robots. As I've said on a few occasions before, I think Optimus will ultimately be the most valuable part. For the energy business, that's doing extremely well. And the opportunity ahead is gigantic. The Lathrop Megapack factory reached 200 megapacks a week, which is now a 40 gigawatt hour a year run rate. The second factory in Shanghai that will begin with a 20 gigawatt hour a year run rate in Q1 next year, so just next quarter. It won't be long before we're shipping 100 gigawatt hours a year stationary storage. Will ultimately grow, I think, to multiple terawatt hours per year. It has to actually, in order to have a sustainable energy future. If you're not at the terawatt scale, you're not really moving the needle. So in conclusion, Tesla is focused on building the future of energy, transport, robotics, and AI. And this is a time when others are just focused on managing around near-term trends. We think what we're doing is the right approach. And if we execute on our objectives, and I think we will, my prediction is Tesla will become the most valuable company in the world.
While we had unit volume growth, we did experience reduction in ASPs, primarily due to the impact of financing incentives. As a reminder, we are providing these incentives primarily using third-party banks and financial institutions and recognize the cost of these incentives as an upfront reduction to revenue. We released FSD for Cybertruck and other features like Actually Smart Summon, like Elon talked about in North America, which contributed $326 million of revenues in the quarter. We continue to see elevated levels of regulatory credit sales with over $2 billion of revenues so far this year. Our focus remains on growing unit volume while avoiding a buildup of inventory. To support this strategy, we're continuing to offer extremely compelling vehicle financing options in every market. Sustaining these margins in Q4, however, will be challenging given the current economic environment. Energy deployments fluctuate quarter over quarter due to customer readiness, location of orders being fulfilled, and not necessarily an indicator of demand or production within the quarter. While we did see a decline in Q3, we expect to grow deployments sequentially in Q4 to end the year with more than double that of last year. Energy margins in Q3 were a record at more than 30%. This is a function of mix of projects being deployed in the quarter. Note that there will be fluctuation in margins as we manage through deployments and our inventory. Our pipeline and backlog continue to grow quarter over quarter as we fill our 2025 production slots, and we're doing our level best to keep up with the demand. We've started using the GPU cluster based out of our factory in Austin ahead of schedule, and are on track to get 50K GPUs deployed in Texas by the end of this month. On the CapEx front, we had over $3.5 billion in the quarter. This was a sequential increase largely because of investments in AI compute. We now expect the CapEx for the year to be in excess of $11 billion.
Is Tesla still on track to deliver the more affordable model next year, as mentioned by Elon earlier? And how does it align with your AI product roadmap?
Plan to meet that in the first half of next year. Our mission has always been to lower the cost of our vehicles to increase the adoption of sustainable energy and transport.
When can we expect Tesla to give us the $25,000 non-robotaxi regular car model?
We're not making it on robot.
Yeah, all our vehicles today are robotaxis.
I think we've made very clear that we're like the future is autonomous. It's going to be, and I actually said this many years ago, but that in my strong belief, and I believe that is panning out to be true, and it'll be very obvious in retrospect, is that the future is autonomous electric vehicles. And non-autonomous gasoline vehicles in the future will be like riding a horse and using a flip phone. So everything's going to be electric autonomous. Those 7 million vehicles, the vast majority are capable of autonomy. We're currently making on the order of 35,000 autonomous vehicles a week. If you compare that to, say, Waymo's entire fleet, they have less than 1,000 cars. We're making 35K a week.
Yeah, and our cars look normal.
So anyway, there's basically, I think, having a regular 25K model is pointless.
Yeah,
It would be silly. It would be completely at odds with what we believe.
in an autonomous world, what matters is the lowest cost per mile of efficiency of that vehicle, and that's what we've done with the road taxi.
Exactly. Autonomous, it's fully considered cost per mile is what matters.
What is Tesla doing to alleviate long wait times at service centers?
So we aim on solving problems at the source, so at the factory, before they can even affect our customers. We believe the best service is no service, and
it really is.
Don't even have them do.
If the car doesn't break,
Yeah, exactly.
that's the best thing.
Don't see anyone with the Tesla shirt. You either do it fix the issue upstream, or do it remotely, do it through software. They can be at work or at home, and the car can be parked, and we address and fix the issue. And we've partnered the field with service to make sure we're looking at the same issues. And additionally, just in Q3 and Q4 of this year alone, we have opened and will open in total at nearly 70 locations. And in North America, we significantly expanded the size of each location and have doubled the size last year compared to this year.
This is where Tesla's structure, I think, Tesla has a structural advantage relative to the rest of the auto industry because we make the cars and we service the cars, whereas I think there's a bit of a conflict of interest with the dealer model and the sort of traditional OEM and dealer model, where the dealerships make most of their money on servicing, and so they obviously are disincented to reduce the servicing cost. Whereas in our case, we are incented to reduce the servicing cost because we carry that servicing cost, and we've got a good feedback loop with our cars.
The best.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We review with the factory, with the service leaders together, and send people from the factories to the field and field to the factory to see it firsthand.
Please provide an update on the Semi. What will the next stage of growth look like, and when will FSD be ready?
We're progressing swiftly on the build of the semi-factory in our Gigafactory in Reno. We've released all our major capital expenditures for that program, and we're on track to start pilot builds in the second half of next year, with production starting in the first half of 2026 and ramping really throughout the year to full production.
Kind of ridiculous demand for the Semi. But fundamentally, if you've got a Semi where the fully considered cost per mile per ton of transport is better than, say, a diesel truck, any company that doesn't adopt an electric Semi will lose.
Pepsi actually said last week their drivers don't want to go back. I mean, how that plays into, FSD, which is the second part of the question. All of the semis have been, since the couple hundred we've deployed already, and the ones that we'll be building next year and throughout the future, have all of the hardware and the cameras necessary to deploy FSD. And we're currently training with that small fleet that we have. And as soon as the fleet is trained and the neural nets are up, we'll get FSD onto that platform.
When will Tesla incorporate X and Grok in all of the Tesla vehicles?
Well, I mean, these are relatively small fry things, but yeah, I think we'll keep expanding, what is available in the car on the screen, and also improving the browser. So just generally, you can access anything you want in the car. In fact, for the Tesla, once you get to full autonomy, you actually want fully a system that is can do anything.
Elon mentioned unsupervised FSD in California and Texas next year. Does that mean regulators have agreed to it in the entire state for existing hardware 3 and 4 vehicles?
There's a pathway. Obviously, Waymo operates in California, so there's just a lot of forms to fill out and a lot of approvals that are required. I mean, I'd be shocked if we don't get approval next year, but it's just not something we totally control. But I think we will get approval next year in California and Texas. And towards the end of the year, it will branch out beyond California and Texas. It needs to be a national approval is important. If there's a Department of Government Efficiency, I'll try to help make that happen. And just for everyone, not just Tesla.
Yes.
What is the plan for 2025?
I mean, I think we're just talking.
Basically, we talked through this. There's a lot going on. Just to close out, just on the energy front, also in 25, we will have started manufacturing at the Megafactory Shanghai. We'll continue to increase our overall storage deployments with Powerwall 3. We plan to continue expanding our supercharging network, getting more OEMs on our network. 4680 cell ramp, as Elon talked about, that would keep going. And then we also will have our lithium refinery starting to produce. So there's a lot which is going on.
What is going on with the Tesla Roadster?
Fun things.
Well, I just like to thank our long-suffering deposit holders of the Tesla Roadster. The reason it hasn't come out yet is because the Roadster is not just the icing on the cake; it's the cherry on the icing on the cake.
More to come.
Yeah.
So briefly, could you just detail how Robotaxi will roll out? Will it start with a Tesla deployed fleet and then allow customers to add theirs on like a subscription model? And then will Hardware 3 be capable of level 5 FSD?
So it's easier to make rapid progress starting with Hardware 4, then figuring out the solution, and then backporting it to Hardware 3 instead of directly working on Hardware 3, given that Hardware 4 has more like fundamental hardware capabilities. I think that trend will continue into the next few quarters as well, where we first figure out the solution rapidly with AI4 and then backport it, write the kernels. It just takes longer to develop those things because it's not fundamentally supported in the hardware and it's emulated. But yeah, it's initially working on Hardware 4, backporting it to Hardware 3.
The answer is we're not 100% sure, but our as Ashok mentioned, because by some measures Hardware 4 has really several times the capability of Hardware 3. It's easier to get things to work with Hardware 4. There is some chance that Hardware 3 does not achieve the safety level that allows for unsupervised FSD. There is some chance of that, and if that turns out to be the case, we will upgrade those who bought Hardware 3 FSD for free.
I was wondering about the compute you're ramping up. So you gave interesting statistics on how much you have, and you said you don't feel you're compute constrained. And I was wondering, how you are putting to work this additional compute. Is that a game for you of creating larger and larger models, like next generation of models that are larger, the way OpenAI go from GPT-3 to GPT-4? Or is that more like you're set on your model and you need to throw more and more compute to accelerate the pace of learning to improve reliability? And then I had a quick follow-up real quick on your rollout in Texas and in California next year. The plan as you see it today, is it to roll out a fleet or two with cars that will start with a supervisory, some onboard supervision, someone sitting at the wheel just in case, and removing the supervisors progressively? Or are you aiming for going fully fledged without even a human supervisor when you get started?
The nature of real-world AI is different from, say, an LLM in that you have a massive amount of context. So that you've got case of Tesla 7 or 8 cameras that 9 up to 9 if you include the internal camera so you've got gigabytes of context. And that is then distilled down into a small number of control outputs. You've got to then process that in the car with a very small amount of compute power. It's all doable and it's happening, but it is a different problem than what, say, a Gemini or an OpenAI is doing. And just like a human, the more you train on something, the less mental workload it takes when you try to when you do it. When the first time a human starts driving, it absorbs your whole mind. But then as you train more and more on driving, get very good, then the driving becomes a background task. It only absorbs a small amount of your mental capacity. The vast amounts of video training or video data coming in from the fleet, what is actually most important for training? We're not currently training compute constrained.
Like you mentioned, the training helps both train larger models, also like train quicker. But in the end, we still got to pick which models are performing better. So the validation effort to picking the models, because the miles per intervention is pretty large, we have to drive a lot of miles to go in closed loop. We do have simulation and other ways to get those metrics, those to help. But in the end, that's a big bottleneck. Yeah, that's why we're not training compute constraint alone. And there's other axis of scaling as well, which is the data, figuring out which data is more useful.
As it relates to the second part of your question, Pierre, about safety drivers and rolling it out, each state has different requirements that, in terms of how many miles and how much time you need to have a safety driver and not have a safety driver. We're going to follow all those. We're not going to violate whatever regulations are out there with safety as a priority. But the goal is obviously when we're ready and safety is there, we'll remove all the drivers from the rideshare program.
We think that we'll be able to have driverless Teslas doing paid rides next year.
Many investors are still not clear how the work at XAI is truly beneficial to Tesla. Some even take the view that the two companies may even be in competition with each other in terms of talent and tech, and even your time, Elon. So what's your message to investors on that relationship between Tesla and XAI, and where do you see it going over time?
Well, I should say that XAI has been helpful to Tesla AI quite a few times in terms of things like scaling up, like training. There are different problems. XAI is working on artificial general intelligence or artificial superintelligence. Tesla's trying to make autonomous cars and autonomous robots. They're different problems.
I think we've said this before also, not all AI is equal, right? I mean, AI is a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
And we have our own swim lanes. Yes, there are certain things which we can collaborate on if needed, but for the most part, we're solving different issues.
I do think Tesla is the most efficient in the world in terms of inference compute, because out of necessity, we have to be very good at efficient inference. We can't put 10 kilowatts of GPUs in a car. Pretty well-designed Tesla AI chip, but it's still a couple hundred watts. XAI it has been helpful to Tesla and will continue to be helpful to Tesla, but there are very different problems. One other car company has a world-class chip design team, like zero. One other car company has a world-class AI team like Tesla does, zero. Those were all startups that were created from scratch.
I think that's unfortunately all the time that we have for today. We appreciate all of your questions and we look forward to hearing you next quarter. Thank you very much and goodbye.